About 4 years ago, we built this Hügelkultur bed here in our vegetable garden. And at the time, we filmed the entire process as a three-part video series showing how we built the bed and the materials we used. So if you'd like to see those original videos, I've linked the full series in the description box below. Hugelkultur is based on a simple idea. You bury logs and branches under the soil so that over time the wood breaks down, improving soil fertility and helping the bed retain moisture. It's often recommended as a way to build productive garden beds using natural materials. But now that several years have passed, I thought it would be interesting to dig into this bed and see what's actually happening underneath. When we built the bed, we placed larger logs and branches in the bottom and then covered everything with soil. And the idea is that as the wood slowly decomposes, it creates a sponge-like layer that feeds the soil and supports the plant growth above. At least that's the theory. So the first year, the bed didn't perform that well. Plants struggled a bit and the soil still felt really raw. By the second year, it was a little bit better, and each year has improved somewhat. And now it's 4 years later, and so by digging into the bed, we can have a look and see what's actually going on, and if this Hugel culture experiment really worked. So what we really found was that the wood underneath had changed very little. Really, we had the layer of original clay soil and then the compost that we've been adding over the years. And so even after several years, most of the logs and branches are still quite intact and not really adding, we feel, to the bed. So you can see that there's a little bit of softening on the outside, but it really hasn't broken down much, not nearly as much as we expected. And so the composition process is happening, but much more slowly than the original idea suggests. Another thing that stands out is there doesn't seem to be a great deal of soil life here. There's maybe one worm that we found in here, and not much mycelia. And normally, when you dig into a healthy garden bed, you expect to see lots of worms and fungal threads and lots of sign of biological activity. But in this bed, there's surprisingly little of that. So what's interesting is that in our other beds, the ones where we've been using compost and biochar, they're full of life. And so when we dig into these, there's worms and mycelium. And over time, the difference between the two approaches have become pretty noticeable. So what we do now, we don't do hugelkultur. It was way too much work for not very great results. So these days we've moved towards more of a no-dig, no-till approach to preparing our beds. And so instead of burying wood underground, we still make use of unwanted branches and woods, but in a different way. We convert the wood into biochar and then mix that biochar with compost before adding it into the beds. And occasionally we'll loosen the soil with a broad fork, but overall the goal is to disturb the soil as little as possible while building fertility from the top down. So while hugelkultur was an interesting experiment, it's probably not something we would build again in quite the same way. We still make good use of unwanted wood in the garden, just in a different form. And if you'd like to see how this bed was originally built, the three-part hugelkultur series is linked in the description box below.